Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacha Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopaakarotam Pravaram Munina Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankha Chakrasi Dharinam Sahasra Shirasam Shvetam Pranamami Patanjalim Shrimate Anantaya Nagarajaya Namo Namaha. Please take 7 conscious breaths with your eyes closed.
Welcome back, everyone. It's a joy to again reconnect at the space of Yoga Sadhana. So as I was, kind of recalling what we have spoken about and our journey together in the past few weeks, we started our journey with this question: what has brought me into the space of yoga sadhana? What has propelled me here? And then the question evolved into, why do I want to practice? Can I get in touch with that part of me, or that which is within me, that has this yearning to practice and to know more about yoga and about myself? Because we kind of, I think, in the first couple of weeks figured out that studying yoga is essentially studying oneself. And then we kind of started asking, so what is a practice? And how do I make this practice a part of my everyday life? And as we traveled together the last 4 weeks, we discovered that while the practice of asana and pranayama and meditation is very important, yoga goes beyond all these things. To practice yoga is to hold that thread of continuous awareness throughout our everyday life. And the practice of asana, the practice of pranayama, of meditation, essentially is to train our mind to be present fully in the here and now. And to learn to observe ourselves without any judgment. So, as we do our practice, as we in our practice start paying attention to our body, to our breath, to allow our mind to settle down and to completely inhabit our body in some sense, we see that the mind becomes quieter and the breath becomes deeper. And there is a sense of ease that comes into the body. And as we reach this state, we are able to meet ourselves wherever we are. And this becomes a new habit. It becomes a samskara. It becomes a new way of being. And slowly we see that this samskara pervades every aspect of our life, not just in our practice on the mat, but it becomes a habit as we go through our everyday life, the way we eat, the way we work, the way we relax, the way we engage with the world, in the way we communicate in our relationships. This practice of being fully present, of listening very deeply, of listening without judgment to ourselves and to the others, and to be fully present to what arises within us and around us. This is the practice of yoga. And this is the space of sadhana. Sadhana is our exploration into how we can be in this state. And the more and more we are able to be in this state, we are able to look at dukkham, when that constriction in our heart space, when something hurts us, or when something happens that is different from what we expect or desire. How do we deal with this dukkha? And slowly, as we are fully present, we are able to see that although there might be external circumstances that has causing me dukkham, there is something within me that is causing me dukkham. So there is a part of me that is contributing to this dukkham. And as we continue to stay with this inquiry, where is this coming from? We start understanding the narratives that we carry within us and how it impacts our perception of what is happening to us. And as we understand and we see these narratives clearly, we begin to truly understand ourselves. And the more we understand ourselves, the less we suffer. And the less suffering we cause others. So it all comes back to practice. The practice of being fully present in the here and now. The practice of meeting ourselves where we are, as we are. The practice of bringing our body, our breath, and our mind together in complete harmony. So that's what we are going to explore in today's practice. So we'll start with a short practice and we'll explore how we can experience this harmonious coming together of the body, the breath, and the mind. So I request you to stand up on your mat and prepare yourself for a practice. I request you to turn your videos on so that I may see you as you practice. If you need any chair or stool or yoga blocks to help you with the practice, please keep them handy. Shipra is here and she will be demonstrating for us. So we'll start the practice. Please stand with your spine erect. Consciously relax your shoulders, your arms. Adjust your feet so that the weight is equally distributed on both sides. Bring your attention to your body. Just take a moment to check in with your body. How do you feel? Do you feel light? Do you feel heavy? Is there any pain or discomfort? Any stiffness? Just observe the body. Place one palm on the chest, the other palm on the abdomen, just below the navel. And continue to observe the breath. Observe the natural movement of the body as you breathe in and out. As you observe yourself and as you observe the breath, you will become aware of the natural pause at the end of exhalation and end of inhalation. Two more breaths, completely aware. Bring your arms down, let it rest by the side of the body. So in today's practice, we will explore consciously linking the breath and the body. So we do this by allowing every movement to be led by the breath. So what it means is that in all the postures, we first start the inhalation or the exhalation and then start the movement. And then there is a little bit of inhalation or exhalation left after we complete the movement. So the movement is contained within the breath. And the length of our breath determines the speed of the movement. So if your breath is short, your movement is fast. If the breath is long, then you move slowly. And at the end of every inhalation and exhalation, we'll pause for 2 to 3 seconds. So we'll start with Tadasana. Shipra will demonstrate. So start the inhale and then raise the arms from the side. Interlock your fingers. Turn the palm upwards. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Feel the stretch in the spine. And as start the exhale, unlock your fingers, lower your arms from the side, and pause at the end of exhalation. Repeat 4 more times at your own pace, remembering to breathe before you start the movement. Once you're done 4 repetitions, come back to Samasthiti and just observe your body, your breath. The next posture that we are going to do is Trikonasana, a twist. So come to one side of the mat and take a comfortable and fairly big step sideways. Check if the feet are in line with each other. The toes are facing forward. And you feel a sense of balance as you stand. Again, we are going to allow the breath to lead the movement. So we start inhaling and raise the arms from the side to the shoulder level. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Start exhaling, bend forward slightly, twist, taking the right hand to the left foot or shin, wherever you are able to comfortably reach. Keep the left hand straight up so you can turn your head and look up at the palm of the raised hand. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Inhale, turn the head down, untwist and come up, arms at shoulder level. Pause, exhale, bend forward and twist to the other side. Pause, inhale, untwist and come back to the center. Exhale, arms down. You can repeat this 4 times at your own pace. If you're done, come back to Samasthiti. Take a few moments to reconnect with your breath, allowing your body rest. The next posture that we are going to do is a simple forward bend, Uttanasana. Please place a chair or a stool in front of you if you feel that it will help you to experience ease while doing this particular posture. Again, we allow the breath to initiate the movement. So start inhaling and raise your arms from the front all the way up. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Start exhaling and bend forward. Pause for 2 to 3 seconds. Inhale, bring the arms to the ear level and come up. Pause. Start exhaling and lower your arms from the front. Please do this 4 times at your own pace. Once you're done with 4 repetitions, please sit down either on the mat or a chair. If you're seated in a chair, make sure your feet are resting on the floor. Your toes are relaxed. Spine erect. Consciously relax the back of your neck, shoulders, the muscles of your face. Place your palms on the knees. Bring your attention to your breath and just watch the breath. When you feel ready, you can gently open your eyes. If you had any insights or any observations as you did the practice, please share it on the chat. Thank you, Shipra. Thank you for sharing. Yes, I think allowing the breath to initiate the movement does help the breath to be lengthened, and also there is a certain ease that just comes into the body as we allow the breath to guide us. So thank you so much.
So today we are going to continue the exploration of Dukkham. Okay. Seems like a very large and deep topic. Probably we need to come to this all the time. Every time we experience some form of suffering is an opportunity for us to start looking at it, understanding it. Like I was mentioning last week, unless we begin to understand how are we causing the suffering to ourselves, there is no way that we can progress on the path of yoga. Okay? We might start our practice with some form of asana, pranayama, meditation, uh, just to take care of our physical health, ailments, or reduce stress, or calm our mind, whatever be the reason, right? The starting point can be anything. But once you have started the practice, unless the practice leads to a certain state of mind where the mind is calm enough, quiet enough to be able to see reality with a certain depth and clarity, and recognize that there is something inside me that's causing this. I'm going in rounds. Okay. The problem is not so much about how other people behave or what's happening in the world that's causing me this dukkham. Even though we can't negate that, there is adi bhautika dukkham. There is also a factor which is unknown, that I don't know why this is happening to me, which is adi daivika. But unless I meet that part of me that is somehow making me trapped in the cycle of suffering, because of the way I think, because of the way I behave, because of the way I feel, because of my memories, because of my conditioned ways of response to the situation outside, and of course, because of my physical health and the choices I make with my food, lifestyle, all of that. There is something within me. I have to be able to touch that and say, okay, what is this? Can I understand it better? So if I am able to understand Dukkham better, then I can learn how to come out of it. Right? So last week in the discussion session, some of you were asking about judgment. Judgment is a huge part of our thinking process. We have a very strong voice of the judge sitting inside our head, telling us, you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't do that, you should be this, right? And that actually we start thinking that is self uh, introspection. Yeah, we then start thinking that is Swadhyaya, that I can just sit back and beat myself up, and that is Swadhyaya. That is not Swadhyaya. Okay? Swadhyaya is to learn how to move inward, learn how to quietly understand all these voices that are coming up, everything that is happening within me, to quietly watch it, observe it, listen to it from a witness space, from a space which is beyond judgment. I won't say without judgment. I would say it's a space beyond judgment, which means judgment can still come up. Yeah. But I learn to watch it from a quieter space within me. And when I'm able to do that because of my practice, then I can do something. So the practice is very integral. And if my yoga practice, whatever I do that I call yoga, is not helping me to touch this quiet space within me, from where I can watch myself, my feelings, my thoughts, my behavior, my judgments, then that is not yoga. Okay? We have to be very clear about it. And the role of a practitioner, a teacher, particularly a teacher, is to lead a student to this space. For them to know that yoga is not just about physical fitness and try to be fit and healthy and all in shape, because the body is constantly changing, right? There are so many conditions within and without that are going to impact the body, that will continue to impact. So being attached to the body and trying to hold a certain idea of the body, like what is the larger image of yoga asana that the world holds about the importance of asana, how the body should be. We have to learn to look at all that and say yoga is more than this. Okay? Maybe it's the first step, but yoga is more than this. Can I understand it deeper? And that is why we are here to study yoga. Last week we looked at those two energies that we have within us, the raga, which is I want to be happy, I want to be comfortable, I want to experience only pleasure. Yeah. And dvesha, I never want to experience pain. So every time I experience pain, or even the possibility of experiencing pain, creates so much of disturbance within us. So sukha anushayi ragaha, that which carries an expectation of sukham or happiness, is raga. Dukkha anushayi dveshaha, that which lies on dukkham, or that which actually anticipates dukkham and therefore reacts to such situations, is dvesha. And raga and dvesha, like I said, raga is like this coming together, dvesha is like this moving away. Dva means two, not one. And we have to look at it as what is my raga. Okay, at a very material level, how much I'm attached to the things that I possess, to the people that I am very closely connected to, right? I really am worried about their health, their well-being. I want them to do always the right thing that will keep me happy, right? Whether it's my spouse or my children or my parents or my close friends, whatever that might be. And every time we experience pain, because of their thinking, action, behavior, my raga dvesha gets activated. Okay, and then I fall into this trap, the cycle. And I not only cause dukkham to myself, I also cause dukkham to them. It does not matter whether I love somebody or not. I can cause immense amount of dukkham, particularly if I love somebody a lot, because that love is contaminated with a lot of raga. And of course, dvesha is also sitting in it. Yeah. So that's the first step to understand. So start looking at it. Now that is with objects, people, things. What about ourselves? I am also very attached to how I look, how my body is, how people should see me, how I don't want people to see me. So let's say I'm getting very angry and irritated with somebody. And if I've got so attached to this idea that I have to be this calm, quiet person who never gets angry, then I never honor my anger, right? I will push it down, I'll cover it up, and I'll try to be very nice, but I will be seething with anger. And somehow I might either throw it in another place, maybe my home front, which is the easiest target, right? Or I might push it down into myself. A lot of people can't even express it at home, right? So they push it down and push it down. So there's a lot of suppression that happens at a very conscious level because we have got conditioned to this idea that I cannot show my anger because then I'm not a good person, I'm not a nice person. And also repression happens unconsciously. A lot of people don't even feel anger. Now, if you are a practitioner of yoga, meditation, etc., I want you to pay attention. A lot of people say, I never get angry. I rarely get angry. And I was one of them. I never experienced anger as anger. Okay? Raudram, anger, is a very primal emotion. And if I am not experiencing it, there is something seriously wrong. And when I started observing myself, I realized that every time I would get angry, I would quickly convert it to sadness. So instead of telling, and not even that person directly, I might tell somebody else, what she said made me very sad. But actually, I should have said what she said made me so angry. And then sadness, I cry, right? So every time I'm angry, I cry. So, and then I push it down. So I have learned to repress it, convert a primary emotion to a secondary, tertiary emotion. And then I only look at it as sadness, right? And I bottle it up in my system. There's no way that this anger can find an expression. I'm not saying now I should go and shout at somebody or hit somebody or anything, but really to recognize what is happening to me and to acknowledge it, to name it, to feel it, and to heal it. Because the only way I can heal it is by seeing it for what it is, not what it should be or should not be, and to learn how to heal it. If I have not done that, and if I have not done that for years and decades and lifetimes, where is it? It's all sitting inside my body, right? In this body. I carry it. And sooner or later, it can manifest as illness. So, in one of my conversations with my Ayurveda doctor, he said, a lot of good people have a lot of health issues because we try to be good all the time and we keep pushing things down. And then he said, when people are insensitive, nasty, mindless, and they hurt the other person a lot, they're actually fine physically. But when they start, don't get scared about this, when they start recognizing that they are doing something that is hurtful and painful, they actually start developing some health problems because you start looking at yourself. Now, that's not a reason why we should be insensitive. I think the only way is to recognize it, to see it. Unless we are able to convert the Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika to Adhyatmika, that something inside me is creating this, I wouldn't be able to unburden myself of all that I'm gathering and carrying with me. right? It's garbage. It is really something that I have to throw out of my system, but I continue to hold it. And it is not at a very subtle level also. It impacts my gross body. It impacts my digestion. It impacts my breathing. It impacts my hormonal system. It impacts all my functions. Okay. Suppose I grow up in an environment where I am listening to somebody shouting down, and I'm so scared of this authority figure that I just want to do that. Sooner or later, I will develop problems with my hearing. And if I am in an environment where I'm seeing something I don't want to see, sooner or later, I'm going to develop problems with seeing, right? All my sense organs also begin to get impacted. The first step is to recognize this. Heyam dukkham anagatam. I don't want to carry this. I don't want to be caught in the cycle. I want to come out of it. Yeah. So I have to really start looking at how raga and dvesha are manifesting inside of me. Okay. Underlying raga dvesha is this I. Like I said, I am also attached to that form of me, or averse to the other form of me that is not so beautiful, right? Like if I were to acknowledge my anger and say that I feel so angry that I just feel like thrashing that person, okay? A part of me is cringing because I don't have that image of myself. Then how could I actually hit someone? Okay, but if I see a cockroach and I hit it and I kill it, I don't have a problem with it because I hate cockroaches. And then all my dvesha comes up, and I realize that the anger with which I hit a cockroach is all the pent up anger that I hold against many, many experiences I've had in this world, including my dvesha towards myself. Now, part of me is looking at myself and saying, oh my God, you're carrying so much dvesha. What did that poor little insect do? But one part of my mind is also saying I'm delivering it from this lifetime of being a cockroach. I mean, the mind just plays all kinds of tricks. Underlying raga dvesha is asmita, which is that form of me which is solidified, more and more solidified. Yeah, I am this, I am not this. It's a very typical way in which we define ourselves. Okay, I'm a very kind person. I'm a very compassionate person. I always tell the truth. Okay, big things. I never hurt anything. Yeah? So all this is part of my asmita, which means the opposite of that I can lie, that I can be hurtful, that I am not so compassionate all the time. I will push that down. That goes into my shadow. I can't see it. It is too painful for me to see it. So I push it down into darkness. And whenever the beautiful part of me is acknowledged by the world, affirmed by the world, okay, praised, I feel so happy. Okay, then I develop raga towards those people, those objects, those situations and contexts. Like being a teacher. Okay, everybody loves you as a teacher because you're able to explain things well. You're so kind to them. You're very nice to them. And then, okay, it's a nice place to be. We all love to be in that place because that raga is fed for us very nicely. Then in some situation, particularly if it's a home front, they will tell you what kind of yoga are you practicing. You're getting so angry. This is not good for you and all that. Then there is some level of dvesha. I don't want to be here. I want to be there, where I'm affirmed, not where. And the negative aspect of me is affirmed. But I am both. I am this, I am that. And I'm a lot of things in between these two extremes. This is my asmita. The more I am able to see it, then I can actually hold that form of me very lightly. Because I am not just one form. I am constantly reshaping myself. So I am more fluid than solid. Okay. Why is this need for me to constantly reinforce my asmita in a certain form and hold on to it, be so attached to it? It's because there is an undercurrent. There is an undercurrent of my need to continue to exist in this form all the time. And that energy is called abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is the attachment to permanence. Okay? I think my body is permanent. I think my mind and who I am is permanent. So I've created an idea about it and I hold on to it. And I want to preserve it, protect it all the time. That is abhinivesha. So you see, abhinivesha is what creates and recreates asmita, and what also makes me so attached to everything that gives me pleasure and so averse to everything that gives me pain. Okay, so these four, raga, dvesha, asmita, and abhinivesha, are all the children of what we call avidya. And avidya is simply not knowing who I am. Okay, because I don't know who I am, I create a certain form of me. Okay, I'm constantly trying to protect it. And for that to be protected, I only want to experience sukham and never want to experience dukkha. So when I begin to see this whole thing playing out within me, then I have begun the journey of yoga. Okay. So the first step, of course, is always about taking care of the gross aspect of myself, which is my physical body. So how do I take care of my body? Through taking care of the food, because if the food carries a lot of rajas and tamas, then it will constantly be feeding my abhinivesha, my asmita, my raga and dvesha. If the food has more of the sattvic quality, then it can help me to experience lightness, a quiet mind, so that it can see what is happening. Sattva helps me to see more clearly because it is really something very transparent. It can reflect light. It's like a clear mirror. It will show me what is happening. Rajas will push me into so much of activity that I cannot see. It's like boiling water. Okay. Tamas clouds my mind, makes it so turbid and clouded that I cannot see the reality. Okay. So these three energies, which are underlying the raga, dvesha, asmita, abhinivesha, avidya, and their relative proportion determines how much active the field of avidya is, how much these children of avidya are active. They can sometimes be sleeping, sometimes they're just sprouting that I can see them, sometimes they have taken a certain form, okay, but because they have taken that form, they play it out, they create residues, or they can be full blown and beyond my control. So I'm not going too deep into this. Already I ventured too far. I don't know which they're able to really connect with that. So just step back and look at what is your state of mind. Okay. If the mind is distracted all the time, okay, I'm trying to do many things at the same time, and I'm pulled by a lot of things outside of me through my sense organs. I'm holding a lot of memories that I'm constantly churning through. Then I know that my mind is not clear enough to look at myself. I cannot really understand beyond the superficial. The superficial is always saying the other person is responsible for my pain, right? If the mind is too heavy, too dull, there is a lot of pain in the body, yeah, the mind is clouded, okay? I'm fatigued. And even in that situation, I really cannot see what is happening. And again, I blame the world, I blame the food, I blame 100 things around me that is causing me the pain. Only when the mind is quiet enough can I see what is happening. Okay. So all of our practices are meant to help us to cleanse our system of excess of rajas and tamas. to reduce the activity level and to clear the mind of the heaviness. Okay? And mind is not sitting somewhere in the head, it is inhabiting my body. So I have to take care of my body. I have to be able to reduce the heaviness and the activity level in my body, bring that quietness and lightness so that the mind will be impacted. So asana practice is very important. Food becomes very important. As I start refining my food habits and really deepening my asana practice, I start cleansing my system of the impurities at the gross level. Okay, so if I have gathered a lot of pain and anger and all that today, I can actually do my practice and clear a lot of that from my system. So the impurities are not only the waste that comes from the food that we eat and the metabolic waste that we clear through asana, we are also clearing a certain level of deeper, subtler level of waste and toxins from our system. Yeah. So if you do a good practice and you look at what happened yesterday, say, yeah, I could have done something differently. I could have responded to that situation differently. I can see it now from a different light, from a different perspective, right? Then you take ownership. Then you're not just blaming the other. The other is only a trigger. We can start working with ourselves, and it is very empowering to be able to see that I can do something about myself. I am not depending on the world to change for me to be happy. I can be responsible for my actions and I can find my happiness. Okay. So asana practice and pranayama is very, very important for a deeper level of cleansing of the mind. Literally, it is like a vacuum cleaner. You have to pull out all the dirt and throw it out every day using your breath in a very intelligent manner. It is not simply pumping in oxygen and throwing out carbon dioxide. If that is how we are looking at pranayama, then sorry, we are not even doing, we are not getting anywhere close to you. Okay, physiological changes happen. In fact, when you do a good pranayama practice, you are not taking in more oxygen. You're taking in less oxygen than what you can take in when you're doing a strong aerobic exercise or a kapalabhati, right? That's what pumps in a lot of oxygen into your system. A good deep pranayama, kapalabhati is not pranayama, it's a kriya to cleanse your system, okay? To purify your respiratory tract so that you can breathe in and breathe out better. If you do a deep, long pranayama practice, very slow inhale, much slower, deeper exhale, you're taking in less oxygen, okay? Which means the capacity of system improves. In fact, there are practices to create intermittent states of hypoxia in the system, like when you hold your breath for a very long time after exhalation, that your system becomes more and more efficient. Yeah. So it is not about oxygen, carbon dioxide. It is about improving your physiological efficiency at one level. But what pranayama does, it reduces the tamasic energy in your body. It reduces the heaviness, that which clouds the mind. Okay. So if you can remove that muddy nature, that cloudy nature of the mind, then the mind becomes really clear. Then when I am clear, I can see reality from so many different perspectives. I'm not holding on to one idea of truth. I can see that reality from so many different perspectives, even from the space of the other person, what we call pratipaksha bhavana in yoga. Okay, I'm able to see the situation from the other person's side and say, oh, fair enough. That's why that person is behaving like that. Maybe I am also doing something to create that insecurity in that person, to making them angry, making them upset. Can I really work with myself, right? Already the journey of yoga has begun. So asana pranayama is extremely important to cleanse the mind of all the impurities that we are gathering through the day, through the years, I don't know, maybe lifetimes. So, beginning the journey with taking care of our food, taking care of our practice, and also taking care of our communication, the way we relate to people, because it is through that our prana gathers a lot of immunities. So start paying attention to that. Okay. And when we do a good asana pranayama practice, we prepare our body for meditation. We're able to sit quietly without much activity in the body, but with a lot of lightness and stability, right? And then we can go inward. The mind naturally gravitates inward rather than being pulled out. So pratyahara also happens, but pratyahara also has to be a practice that I'm choosing not to feed my senses and I'm doing everything to pull them back into myself. Then I'm ready for a good meditative practice. And through meditation, I'm strengthening the sattvic quality. I'm further going deeper and looking at myself. So, dhyanam or meditation is the process of looking within from a very deep, quiet space. And I'm able to look at myself, like I said, beyond the space of judgment and understand what is really happening within me. And that understanding should help me to further and further cleanse myself. And the whole process of yoga is about cleaning my vessel, which includes my body, my sense organs, my mind, all the layers of my mind. And as I cleanse myself more and more, this vessel becomes so pure that it can hold a higher energy. It can hold compassion, it can hold a lot of love for the entire world. Okay? And that is the path of yoga. So let us really come back to our practice and pay attention. So it's not just doing some physical practice, okay? Asana is asana only if the mind is fully in your body with your breath. You have to pull your mind back from all its engagements. Then it becomes asana. Then it becomes yoga asana. Okay, otherwise it is some form of physical stretching. It may have some physiological benefits, but if you want to get the best out of it, if you want it to be yoga practice, then your mind has to be there all the time. That's why we ask you to focus on specific parts of your body. We ask you to really pay attention to your breath. So you are there, you bring your mind back, you start breathing, then you start moving. You complete your movement. You still have a little bit of breath left. You stop breathing, you pause, you're still, your mind is there, you ensure your mind is there, then you start breathing again, then you start moving, finish your movement, complete your breath, be still. Okay, so just this intention, breath, movement, just this will help you to experience yoga in us, and that naturally prepares you for pranayama, that prepares you for meditation. We start taking better care of our body. We start choosing better food that is easily digestible, that is more sattvic, and our sensory control becomes better. We know what to engage, what not to engage, what is beneficial, what is not beneficial, and we can exercise our choices better, and we change our conditioning. The conditioning that causes dukkham to the conditioning that brings clarity. Okay, so this is the path of yoga. We will now move into practice. Thank you.
Please close your eyes, sitting comfortably. And please take some conscious breaths. Reconnecting your body, your breath, and your mind. Allowing yourself to be completely in this moment. When you are ready, please open your eyes and let us get ready for a short practice today. Shipra will demonstrate, and we are going to begin with Uttanasana, which you did earlier in the morning practice. Please watch her once. Please stand with your feet a little comfortably, arms by the sides of your body. Please use a chair or a tabletop, whatever, which allows you to do the practice with ease so that you can feel the posture completely. Begin inhaling and then raise your arms from the front to straight above you. Pause. Begin exhaling as you bend forward and bring your arms down to touch whichever part of you are comfortable using. Your knees, your ankles, the floor, or a chair. As you begin inhaling, let your arms come up to your ears and raise your body, coming upright again. Pause. Begin exhaling and bring your arms down by your sides. Please repeat this 4 times. Shipra will be spotlighted in case you need to see her. When you have completed your repetitions, please sit down either on the floor or on a chair comfortably to prepare for a pranayama practice. Please watch Shipra this first time as I explain to you what you're going to be doing, and then you can begin all together at the same time. You will sit with your arms on your knees or your thighs, and you will inhale using Sheetali. Shipra, if you could just allow your, whereby you will curl your tongue and suck in your breath through your tongue. If that is difficult, you may stick your tongue out lightly between your teeth and suck in the air that way so that you can feel the coolness of the breath. You will begin doing this. Please just watch her now. You will use this breath, Sheetali, to inhale. Pause for a second. As you exhale, you will use Brahmari or humming and bring change. And you will pause here for a little longer. As you inhale, your focus will be on the tip of your tongue. And as you exhale, your focus will be on your navel. In the pause after your exhale, please take your focus to your heart center. You will do this 3 times, facing front. 3 times, twisting slightly. Please watch Shipra now. Her arm will be on the opposing knee. Shipra, yes, please. And the other arm will be on top of it. So you'll be slightly angled to one side. You will do it 3 times in this posture. 3 times on the other side. And 3 times in the center again. It will be a total of 12 breaths, center, left, right, and center. Please remember, focus on the tip of your tongue as you inhale. Pause. Focus on your navel as you hum and exhale. Slightly longer pause. At that time, focus on your heart center. 12 breaths, 3 in each position. Shipra will spotlight it. You can always see her at any point. As you please sit down comfortably as you begin inhaling in Sheetali, lifting your head. Shipra, Sheetali. Sheetali. Okay.
I'll unmute.
Focus on the tip of your tongue. Pause as you exhale using Brahmari. When you are done, focus on your heart center for a couple of seconds and then begin again. Three times in each posture. Thank you, Shipra. When you finished your 12 breaths, please just stay seated and just listen to what your body and your breath are saying to you. See if you have come back and you have centered. Today, Lekha and I are going to be sharing with you and open a window into two actually important aspects of our practice: food and sleep. Many of us have a very complicated relationship with food. Many things influence our choices of food. Time, our work life, our situation at home, what is convenient, what is available, what is the weather. And in all of this is also a second train that accompanies us. Are we really listening to our body? Are we respecting what its needs are, what it's saying to us? Or is our tongue dictating? Is it determining the choices we make? And then there is the media, which every few years will find something to tell us is the food that we should be eating, or the one food that we should be avoiding. Yoga classifies foods very differently. Yoga classifies foods as rajasic, tamasic, sattvic. Rajasic food is food that is pungent, it's spicy, it's hot, it's sugary. It tends to overstimulate us. And tamasic food is heavy, stale. It causes heaviness within us. Sattvic food is typically thought of as something that is fresh, it's light, it doesn't tend to displace us in any way. It allows us to move. In all of this, each one of us is different. Our constitution is different. Our situation is different. So we need to use the right balance of rajasic food and tamasic food so that the sattva can rise and prevail in us. And in all of this, we also need to remember two very, very important words, aspects, or ways of looking at food: hitam and mittam. Hitam refers to food that is appropriate for us, that's beneficial for us. And mittam talks about the right quantity, the right proportion. Ayurveda says that we should fill our stomach half with food, a quarter with liquids, and leave a quarter empty for air so that our prana can circulate and the food can be digested. As we practice, as we do more and more pranayama, our sensitivity to food goes up. And our body almost instinctively, automatically starts rejecting food that is not good for it, that is inappropriate. We also need to remember to eat only when we are hungry. For a lot of us, I know I do it sometimes too. We'll just see something and we'll just say it's a nibble or it's a small snack. But the body doesn't treat it as a snack. The body treats it as a meal. So if it is in the cycle of processing a meal that we have already eaten, this becomes one more meal that we're adding to it. There is no period of rest for the body. The rhythm is broken. The cycle of digestion is interrupted. When we eat, it is also important that our mind is in a good place, because that allows us to connect with our food, to remember all those who are part of that process by which this food is in front of us. What we're trying to share with you is just a very small part of how we look at food when we do a full-length yoga sadhana program, where we integrate our relationship with food, our mindfulness in how we eat, in how we prepare, how we remember, and how we treat our food, almost reverentially. Food is vital to our well-being, and when we cook, purchase, cook, consume mindfully, we treat it and we treat our body with respect, with reverence, with gratitude. We treat the food we are receiving with gratitude, and we offer it to our body and receive it there with gratitude. Like I said, this is just a very small introduction, a glimpse into how one needs to look at food and how one needs to treat our own bodies and food and our relationship with it. Nika will now share with you about sleep.
Food is definitely one of the most important upastambhas of good health as per Ayurveda. The other one is sleep, nidra. Usually when someone comes in for yoga therapy, one of the key questions that we ask them is about the quality of their sleep. We ask them questions like, how long do you sleep? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? Sleep is what helps the body to regenerate. It is also what helps the mind to rest and to process all that has happened. So Ayurveda speaks about, sleep as being very close to the state of yoga, where you actually sleep and you wake up with a sense of lightness. You feel relaxed, you feel rejuvenated, you feel refreshed, you feel ready to take on the new day. But in the current world, with all the pressures that we have and with all the distractions that our electronic devices bring in, we see that a lot of us struggle with sleep. We struggle with going to sleep. We struggle with waking up in the middle of the sleep and not being able to sleep back. We also struggle with waking up in the morning feeling heavy, feeling not very refreshed, feeling dull. And when you actually have a morning practice, it becomes a beautiful mirror, because it actually shows you where your body is, and it shows you whether you are feeling that sense of rejuvenation that sleep normally gives you, a good sleep normally gives you. So one of the things that I remember my teachers speaking about is about how you can invite Nidra Devi. So they, in our tradition, sleep is called Nidra Devi. It's a goddess, right? And how do you invite this goddess into your life? You do that with a lot of reference. And, when you invite a goddess, you have to prepare, right? You just don't say, okay, come along, right? So how do you actually prepare for Nidra Devi to come in and bless you, right? So having a nighttime ritual, it could be, eating early enough. So eating a couple of hours before the bedtime, eating a light meal that allows you to rest comfortably. It's also not eating so early that you actually feel hungry closer to your bedtime, and then you end up snacking, which, as Gauri explained, the body considers as hard work. It's a meal, and then the body has to work hard and to process it. So to eat optimally, maybe a few hours before the sleep, and then to have a bedtime ritual. It could be having a warm bath. It could be, putting away your mobile phones and laptops and all the other devices, and perhaps using the time to reflect upon the day that went by, maybe to journal, maybe to do a short meditative practice to cleanse the body of any residues that we are carrying from the day that we have lived. Perhaps a prayer, right? And to do all of this and slowly ease your body into a state of relaxation and prepare for sleep. What I have noticed about sleep is that the quality of sleep determines the quality of the next day. It determines the quality of my practice. It also determines the quality of attention that I'm able to bring to the work that I do, to the relationships that I hold, to the, my relationship with food, especially, because when I am not feeling rested, I make wrong choices. I'm not very attentive when I work. I also tend to be far more impatient in my relationships. But I've also noticed that the quality of the day that I have determines the quality of the sleep. So when I have had a conflict which is unresolved, or when I have had a conversation that disturbs me, I also find that it is difficult to go to sleep and to sleep comfortably. So there again, a practice helps me. So to do a practice at the end of the day, which allows me to cleanse, which allows me to let go of whatever I'm holding, so that I may prepare myself for a good night's rest. I can always pick up what I need to pay attention to the next day. Yeah. So these are some of the things that, we look into in great depth when we do a longer yoga sadhana. And we look at what kind of practices helps us to invite Nidra Devi into our life with great reverence and with great effectiveness. So now we'll just open the space out for any questions you may have about any aspect that we touched upon today. Since we are a small group, you can actually just ask your question. You don't have to type it in.
I have a question. The exercise that we just did with the Sheetali, can you just clarify the steps you were saying to do it mindfully, and then at one point you said to focus on the heart. I wasn't sure exactly at what point we should be focusing on the heart chakra. So if you could just go over it again, that would help me clarify it.
Sure. So when you are inhaling using Sheetali, your focus is on the tip of your tongue. And you will pause for a second. And as you exhale using Brahmari or humming, your focus is your navel. In the hold after your exhale, which you want to make a little bit longer if possible, your focus will be on your heart.
Okay, I get it now. And the purpose of focusing on those 3 points, is it a mindfulness exercise, or I was just curious.
If you were to ask me, I would say every single thing we do needs to be a mindfulness exercise. But at this moment, I know that there is a particular relevance which escapes me. I don't know if Lekha remembers.
So usually when we do an practice, the idea of the practice is to bring the body, mind, and breath together. So one of the definitions of yoga is union. So the union that we are aspiring for is the union of the body, breath, and mind. And when you want that union, you need something that ties everything together, right? So focusing on a desha or a particular location in the body helps to bring all the three aspects together. So that is the idea behind having any kind of desha focus in our practice.
I don't know if you remember, but I think a week, maybe last week or the week before, we had done a practice where we focused on the navel, the heart, and the throat. So each time it is really to bring your mind back from wherever it may be choosing to wander or may not be choosing, and to simply center yourself with all aspects of yourself at that moment.
And in terms of specific choice of the desha, so when we do Sheetali, the place where we actually feel the coolness most is the tip of the tongue. Right? So we pick the desha based on how easy it is for us to actually observe and anchor ourselves there. Similarly, when we do an exhale, one of the things that happens is that as we exhale, our abdomen draws in. So when we focus on the navel, we're able to pick up that movement, and that helps us to anchor ourselves in the exhale. And when there is a pause after the exhale, so when we exhale completely, we have completely emptied ourselves. And when we pause after that exhale, there is a sense of quietness, a sense of stillness. And it's a good time and space to actually rest in our heart space, to reconnect with the heart, because the heart is considered as the pranasthana. It is considered the place from which the prana arises. Right? So in some sense, we rest there to invite the next inhale, the next inflow of the prana into us. So that is probably why these specific locations have been picked for this practice.
And when you do that exhale, it's actually, I tried this once. If you simply exhale, knowing that you should be drawing your abdomen in, and when you exhale with a focus on your navel, you will notice, at least that's what I noticed in myself, is I tend to draw in my navel more gently, but more consciously. I draw it in further. And you can actually try this for yourself, where you simply exhale, knowing that you have to draw your abdomen in, and then you put your mind on your navel and you exhale, and you can sense the difference of how your body almost automatically changes the intensity of the pulling in.
Does that answer the question, Tiffany?
Yes. So it's just a point of centeredness. It's not so much focusing on chakra points.
No, it's not. Vivek has asked, can you please share some of the rituals for a good and deep night's sleep?
That will take a very long time, Vivek. It's a huge topic by itself. But I can share something that personally works for me. The first thing is a good practice. I usually do an evening practice at the end of my day. So when we do an evening practice, the asana part of it brings down the rajas, and the pranayama actually, moderates the tamas to an extent, and the sattva rises. So that enables you to be in a slightly better state of mind and prepares you for a good night's rest. Putting away electronic devices before sleep, probably an hour before sleep, actually enables us to sleep better. I have found that journaling, doodling, all of this actually helps me to let go of what has happened over the day, and cleanses the mind enough to rest better. And like I said, the quality of the day. So if I've had a day where I have been more mindful, I have made better choices in terms of food. For example, I've eaten the right food. I have eaten the right quantity of food at the right time. It enables me to sleep better. So when I have very spicy food, for example, I have chest burn when I try to, lie down. So making better choices, making more mindful choices truly helps. Making mindful choices about the words that I use and my action also ensures better sleep. So like I said, there are a lot of things that helps you to have a better sleep. And in a regular yoga sadhana, we would actually incorporate these practices, because we also have one-on-one mentoring sessions. So we incorporate it, we help individuals to, explore what practices help them to sleep better. Because this is highly, dependent on our life circumstances and where we are with respect to our body, with respect to our breath and mind. So what I would suggest is actually, if you have a good teacher, to actually take it up with your teacher and see what will help.
Thank you, ma'am.
Laura has a question. Gauri, would you like to take that? The benefits of this particular pranayama.
I would say that it's the same as the benefits of most generally applicable pranayama practices. When you are one-to-one with a teacher will know what you, in particular, your circumstances, your life requires. But we're doing a pranayama practice for so many people. We don't even know who all are listening. So these practices are basically simply balancing practices, centering practices, and calming practices. They basically allow you to rest and be in a space where you can give your complete attention to what is going to come next. And that's pretty much, and to give you an experience of what does it feel like, what does it feel like to have that air coming in through your tongue? What does it do to you when you do that? Those are basically, it's a 1.5 hour program, and we're trying to shoehorn as much as we can from a regular program that we run, that's 8 weeks long and it's 3 hours a day. So.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was refreshing and calming for me. But I wanted to know if there was any specific, direction you were guiding for.
No, not individually in that sense. Because like we spoke, just like food, some people may be more, typically more active. So they may need practices that ground them and calm them down. Maybe less likely or willing to be moving a lot. So they may need a practice that energizes them. So then it becomes a very individual practice.
Thank you so much.
Vivek, you say that Mr. Rajiv Dixit says you should take a nap for 40 to 45 minutes. Things like naps are extremely dependent on the individual. Old people and children, unwell, sick people. Otherwise, Ayurveda will typically not advise napping during the day. I will say you may rest, but that's not horizontal. So no, naps, again, are a very individual thing. It depends on what your life is. Maybe you're working a night shift job. Maybe you still have a family you have to take care of. So it's a very individual call, but in general, Ayurveda does not advise napping during the daytime.
The other exception to the rule is summer. So Ayurveda says during peak summer, it does encourage one to take a nap if one feels the need to. The other thing with sleep during the day, whether it's for children, old people, or people who are unwell, or during summer, is Ayurveda recommends that the nap is taken before the lunch and not post-lunch. And also the normal recommendation that I've seen my Ayurvedic doctors give is to actually not lie down and sleep, but to actually kind of sit up and sleep. So these are some of the recommendations that are normally given. But again, like Gauri emphasized, it is dependent on the individual, and every individual has a different constitution and is in a different stage of life, and also has different circumstances in life. So one has to factor all of that in to decide what is the appropriate food or appropriate sleep that a person requires.
A question from me, Jennifer.
Yeah.
In the exercises we did today, Gary, sitting down and the twisting to one side, did we do the focus on the tip of the tongue, the exhale and humming, and the pause to focus on the heart in all those movements, in all those asanas?
Yes, it is one posture that we turned our body in 3 different ways, but the inhale, the exhale, and the hold after exhale had those 3 points, those 3 centers of our focus for all the 12 breaths that we took.
Okay, so I just got a bit confused because you were explaining and we were watching. So the only asanas we did then were the twisting to the left, the twisting to the right, and the center. And we did all those 3 things during that time. I like to get it right. Thank you.
It was center, left, right, and center.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. That was the problem. All right. Thank you. One more question. Sorry, one more question. Is it possible? I live in New Zealand now. I'm from Africa originally. Do you take students, or do you take people and go through the yoga sadhana online?
Yes.
You know what I'm asking? You can?
Absolutely. You can go to our website, yogavahini.com, and you can sign up for the next Yoga Sadhana program. It's at this point, we're running it only online. So we have people joining us from all over the world. And
thank you. Thank you. And your email is available?
If you go to the website, you'll get all the details over there.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I think Lekha just shared it, so you can on the chat. So
okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
If we have no more questions, can we maybe close the session for today?
Hi, ma'am. Vivek here. One last thing, ma'am. So you were talking about breath during this session. Like, we should be mindful of it. And especially the point of navel you mentioned. I tried it in that moment also. and I can feel the way it is getting contracted and like it's going in. It just reminded me of one of the speeches, sorry, of this spiritual saint Osho, which I was listening few months ago. And to my surprise, he was talking about this point known as Tanden, suggested by Lao Tzu, another philosopher. And and I have also done my TTC and also yoga sessions and all, but I've never gone beyond the navel point while breathing, right? And never heard anybody talking about it, like go beyond the navel point. But there's a point, maybe two fingers below or three, something like that. He was telling the measurement suggested by Lao Tzu. From there, if we breathe, it's an another spiritual feeling or for physical life also. But maybe I was not able to understand it and relate it better. But I found it quite fascinating because it was not just coming from Osho, but also from a great philosopher like Lao Tzu. I tried looking for the text, but uh, I couldn't. Maybe I don't know how to read Chinese, or I don't know. I don't know. So I thought maybe if you have some perspective around it, uh, you know, uh, so just wanted to know your thoughts. Thanks. Yeah, this is it.
I'm going to answer you from a very personal space, that I think these, when we read, sometimes I look at it as general information. We need a teacher and we need to connect with somebody who understands us enough to be able to guide us.
True.
That is at one level. And at the second level, we need to actually listen to our body. Because our body, our mind, our breath, our practice really will guide us, in a sense, very, very surely. Yoga always talks only about the next step. We never really talk about 10 steps from now. We say next. What's going to happen next? What are we trying to do now? I'm just trying to bend a little bit more now. I'm trying to increase my exhale by 1 second or by 2 seconds. I'm not thinking what will happen when I increase it by 15 seconds. So this is just coming for these details in terms of what happens to you if you use a certain focus. I think a personal teacher with whom one has a relationship, a bond, and one feels secure and one trusts, these are very, very important. It's just my experience that I'm sharing with you. I hope this helped you.
Sure. Yeah, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah, it's a very sweet way of looking at it. Right. Thanks, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you on Saturday or next Wednesday.
What time does it start on Wednesdays now?
6 on Wednesdays. It's at 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.